Good afternoon, everyone. And for those who are online, good afternoon to you as well. We are here for the third segment of our Mental Health and Addiction Awareness Day program. And we are glad for those of you who were able to join us on earlier for our last two sessions. They were power packed. We learned just a lot from Dr. King's presentation. And this afternoon, we will be continuing with question and answers, an informal session. And so I want you to invite you to get all your questions and together. So that as we start, you will have your questions ready to go. Dr. King has come all the way from Detroit to present for us, and we're grateful for that. And he's a man of honor, and he has not even he didn't even ask us for anything. But we're grateful that the Lord has used him so that he can present to us in an area that we've often neglected in our church, and that will help us in our families, because mental health is a real issue that has become more and more prevalent, or it had been there. It's just we didn't recognize and know a whole lot about mental illness and addiction. And so Dr. King came because we're wanting to start a new program here or a new ministry at our church called Adventist Recovery Ministries. And so with Adventist Recovery Ministries, we are trying to help people with addictions. And so it's patterned after the 12 steps, which they've rewritten from Steps to Christ. And there's a recovery series of Steps to Christ, which talks about the process that we actually go through, 12 steps with addiction that will help those who have issues with addiction to actually work through these issues with Christ at the center. And so Adventist Recovery Ministries is a ministry that's part of the health department of the North American Division. And I got involved because I saw a advertisement for facilitators, for training for facilitators. And somehow God uses very difficult situations so that we can learn, or he can get our attention. So I was outside in the foyer having a tough day one Sabbath. It was so difficult that I couldn't even stay inside. And so I went outside and just casually on my phone, going through the newsletter from the North American Division, when I saw this training session, and I decided to, go and pay for it and all of that, and took the course. And it was amazing because it was about 41 individuals from all over the country in the United States who were involved in the training session. And, you know, so, and we learned a lot because we went through uh, just how you would run a program or a meeting. And so this is patterned after the Alcoholics Anonymous program, the 12 steps, and Al-Anon, all of those. So we, this ministry is new. Many churches in North America may not have a ministry that's involved with this, with it, that's doing this. It's a lot of work with in terms of facilitating and setting up, and so we're gonna ask for your support. We will need booklets because those who will attend will also need to go through this study, the 12 steps, and it's we need booklets, and the real point of this ministry is to help people with addiction deal with this in a Christ-centered way, as I said, and a non-threatening environment. And so that gives you a little bit, and I'll talk more about that as we move through in this in the coming year, in this year. And so without any further talking from me, I will have Dr. King come up again and do the third and final segment. Thank you so much for coming, and for those of you online. And I hope that you'll be blessed by this third session. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Joan. Again, thank you all for coming back. And if we have any of our online, as I call them, online worshipers, and you want to pose questions, I am not sure how we would do that. How do you suggest? Okay, so Pastor Chance is at the back, and okay, great. So what I wanted now, this is supposed to be very informal, and one of the things I want to cautious us about is my approach has always been no blame, no shame, right? And you should feel free to ask any question that comes to mind, or if you need some clarification, because we cannot ask and walk away and have our own thoughts because of fear of censorship, all right? Or we can get it out there, and maybe it can be of help to someone. So, based on the two presentations, you may have questions, or you may have additional questions. There's two things I would like to do as we get started. And I'm not doing a formal presentation. Again, I just want to do sort of like a review. The slide on the screen, mental health versus mental illness, right? I want to touch on that again, because I don't think I did a great job in terms of explaining it, so that there is no confusion or any controversy, right? So as I mentioned, we spoke about the human brain, right? We spoke about the fact that this computer is designed in such an amazing way, 100 billion neurons and a trillion connections. Forgot to take my mask off. More connections than the stars in the universe. Now, there's some things that I should have mentioned, but I didn't. For instance, females, right? Female and male difference. So males have more neurons than females, but females have more connections than males, right? And as a group, females are superior in terms of retrieving information and in terms of multitasking. It explains a lot, right? I mean, it's, now that you hear it, it's almost like, okay, that makes sense. And this is one good way of knowing. If a guy is driving and he's playing his music and he gets lost, what is the first thing he's going to do? No, well, yeah, keep going, yeah. But in addition to keep going, he's going to turn it down. You know why? Because as a group, men have a difficult time using their full processor. Women process information from both left and right hemisphere, and they're very efficient at processing information, which is why women can multitask so much, right? You know, if a guy is watching football or whatever, and you come and talk to him, it's the most irritating thing because it's a physiological challenge. Seriously, it's funny, but it's true. It's a physiological challenge to be watching that and to listening to you and to be responding. We just can't do it. So we were not designed to do stuff like that, right? But you guys were better designed to do stuff like that. So that's something I want to mention. So on the screen, mental health versus mental illness. As I mentioned, we have that circuitry, right? And we spoke about the pleasure center of the brain. I said if you drill a hole through the top of your head, through your ears, and they intersect, that's the pleasure center, right? So women are more susceptible to mental health issues like depression and anxiety. Why? Because women have a larger bonding area. For instance, if you look in the animal kingdom, rarely would you see a calf walking behind the father. You will see a calf walking with the mother, or birds, or just look at the animal kingdom. So females have a larger bonding, a larger feeling system. And because of that, they're more susceptible to issues. I try to explain the difference between mental health issues, starting at the left, right? All of us are there, or have been there at one time. We're angry, someone cuts you off on the road, you're angry, right? Someone dies, you cry, you lose a loved one, you're supposed to feel sad. Maybe, 5 years, 6 years, 3 months, whatever it is. Those are normal expressions of life, So those are mental health issues. Doesn't mean that you are mentally ill. So this morning when I said that Jesus also was subject to mental health issues, that's what I meant. He had the ability to cry, right? Jesus wept. He had the ability to feel angry. He drove the money changers out of the temple. We tried to say, it was righteous indignation. Whatever it was, he drove them out of the temple. Whether he was smiling, he drove them out of the temple. And the Passion Week, the last week before he was crucified, right? You go back again and you read their Passion Week. That was a tough week for Jesus. That was a really bad week. In fact, he said, you remember his prayer, right? When he said, my God, if it be possible, let this stuff pass from me, right? His soul was burdened unto death. That's mental health issues. He was suffering. He was struggling. He had a rough time. But that was not sin. It was not sinful. He was struggling with mental health issues. Mental illness, when you push it to the other extreme, or when those feelings now overwhelm you so much that they impede your ability to function. You can't function like you should. I told you about one of my clients in Detroit 20 years ago. Is one of the worst cases I've ever seen. Just for her to get up from the bed took a lot of coaxing and coaching and prodding to get her to get up and take a shower. Just to be able to do that. That's mental illness. And for those of us, especially for those of us, we were talking about it after church who grew up in the Caribbean, that stuff didn't exist. We did not even recognize mental illness, right? Our parents would just beat us. That's it. They would just beat you. You're depressed. You're what? Are you kidding me? And you got his house to clean? Boy, you better get up and do stuff, right? That's how we dealt with mental health issues, right? However, in Western civilization, things are a little different. And so the methods that we use, we can no longer use, right? Here's another issue in terms of mental health versus mental illness. Our church is led mostly by men. Is that a fair statement? We're just looking at a broadcast today from West Jamaica Conference or wherever it is. And I said to Donald, where are the women? All of the guys in the program were men with ties, and that is a reflection of our church. That's how our church functions. It's very gender-oriented, gender-dominated, and as a result, emotional issues are downplayed because as men, we are not comfortable with emotional issues. We can preach great sermons, right? We can preach about sin, and we can preach about grace, and we can preach about salvation, and we can preach about all type of stuff. But when it comes to addiction, and when it comes to depression, and when it comes to anxiety, we don't know how to deal with those topics. And so as a result, the congregants, the members of the church, suffer. So I'm pretty glad that Joan and her team have taken this initiative to talk about mental health issues. And in the case of mental illness, this is where it becomes debilitating to find resources. So I wanted to mention that this morning. On addiction, there are some topics that I did not get into. For instance, like pornography, right? Pornography is a booming market. And due to COVID, right, more people now are at home. Before when people used to be able to go out and socialize, now all of that stuff is cut out. So you're sort of isolated, and you're isolated with your devices. Right? Is that a fair statement? Yeah. And you're isolated now with your devices. You can't go out and express yourself, so now you begin to look inward. And that is one form of addiction that is on the rise, especially amongst younger people and older men. All right? But that topic is taboo. You can't talk about that in church because it doesn't happen. So consequently, it is kept on the down low. All right? And that's one form of addiction that is insidious and dangerous because it's hard to get help. I mean, who are you going to tell? Yeah, I've been watching porn for a week. Like, who are you going to tell that? The pastor? I don't think so. Who are you going to tell? The prayer warriors? No, you can't do that. Who are you going to tell? Nobody. So, so that is one form of addiction that is difficult to detect, difficult to provide help, and it's hard to raise your hand and say, this is what I'm struggling with. So I wanted to mention that this morning, but I wasn't sure how appropriate it was going to be given the congregation. So those are a few things I wanted to mention about substance abuse and mental health. Now, questions, some things I said or some questions that you have, some concerns, please use the mic. I believe our session is recorded. Yes, Sam. One sec, Sam. Go ahead.
Is there any evidence to suggest that substance abuse has anything to do with genetics or familial traits?
Yes. They have done multiple twin studies. They've done not just with substance abuse, but with different forms of mental health issues. For instance, like schizophrenia also, right? They've looked at twins, right, who were separated, right, just after birth. They were separated and follow them. There's several twin studies, and there seems to be about a 30% correlation with genetics. So, for instance, if Sam, if the two of us were twins, and we were separated, and you had a disease of schizophrenia, I had about a 30 to 40% chance of being schizophrenic also, even though we went different pathways. And it's the same thing that applies in terms of substance abuse. Because as I saw, can you put back up the slide on addiction with the fetal alcohol syndrome? It's on the addiction, and it's about 4 or 5 slides down with those babies. Yes, that's the right one. And thank you so much for assisting us. There you go. There you go. So, there you go. You know, and I mentioned this morning that that child, more than likely, will either become addicted to some form of substances or will struggle for the duration of its life with substances. Because not all babies are born equal, right? So this child's parents were substance abusers, right? And mom used substances. So this child was born with withdrawal symptoms, you know, irritability, anxiety, depression, easily startled, right? And when you have that type of disposition, it's hard living like that. So guess what you want to do? You need to find a substance that can kind of calm the brain down, because the brain is on fire. The brain is on fire. So you got to search for something to calm the brain down. And that is as a function of the child's parents, right? The child didn't raise its hand and said, "Can I please become addicted to alcohol coming out of the womb?" No. So there's a strong genetic link in terms of substances and mental health issues. The same thing, you know, cancer, right? Cancer runs in certain family. I know of a family from where I'm from in Guyana where all of the daughters have had breast cancer, including the mother, right? So certain illnesses run in families. And here's I think about this a lot. You've never met your great-great-great-grandfather, right? And you've never met your great-great-great-great-grandmother, right? Do you know what issues they struggle with? You have no idea, right? So when you were born, you were predisposed to certain things. You just didn't know what they were, right? And by the grace of God, or because of parenting, or because of some influence, you did not go down a certain pathway. By the grace of God, or by the grace of your parent, or teacher, or somebody, right? But you have that predisposition just kind of waiting there, just kind of waiting. Which is why I tell young people, you know, they say, "Oh no, I can smoke marijuana and I'll be fine," or "I can do this and you know I got it, I'll be fine." I say to them, but you did not create your brain, right? You don't know what your receptors are waiting to get, right? And the problem is, once you start to get that and those tracks are laid, like I said this morning, it's almost over. The battle is almost over. I don't know who can save you except the grace of God. Other questions?
I was going to say, with reference to what you said about it being generational, I'm in the education field. I've been in it for 36 years.
Mm-hmm.
And all I can say is what it's like now compared to how it was when I started 36 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
It's frightening. We have, it used to be that, for instance, if there's 6 classes per grade level, one of those classes would be dedicated to the kids with special needs.
Yep.
Now in every class they've had the special need population is growing so rapidly that they've had to spread them between all of us, and they've had to encourage us to become special needs certified to accommodate that. With the kids, we had a man called Trevor Romaine. He's a motivational speaker from Australia. He goes around to schools and tries to encourage the children. He's been doing it a lot more now since COVID started. And at the end of his last presentation a few months ago in our school, he asked for the kids, if the kids had any questions or comments based on what he said. Do you know that so many kids raised their hands and their words were, I have ADHD, I have ADD. Now, once upon a time, that was taboo. They wouldn't even admit to it. It was kept quiet.
Yes.
But now they're openly talking about the fact that they have it. Then he was able to say, and how does it make you feel? I get angry, but when I take my medication, I feel better. You know, it's speaking like you're saying it's a lovely day today. It's frightening. It's really frightening. I don't know where it's going to lead to, but as you say, we didn't know about our great-grandfathers, great-grandmothers, or whatever, but there is a growing mental health, or I don't know if you call that mental illness. Would you call that mental illness, what they have, or mental health?
Yes, so let me, and thanks for sharing, let me address some of the, and as time progresses, right, if we believe in a second coming, and I hope we do, right, I mean, the Bible talks about it, right? As we approach the end of time, things are going to get worse. I mean, we can see before our very eyes, right? I think COVID is just like a kind of a dress rehearsal. There's a sort of a dry run to see, you know, how we're going to react and behave. And we were just talking before this service that, you know, a church that has, I don't know, 1,000 members, 800 members, on any given Sabbath online, maybe about 30 or 40 of them are online. Where are the others, right? So we know that things are going to get worse. People are going to become more stressed out. I think I was looking at some information since the start of COVID. There have been over 5,000 arrests on jetliners as people behaving really stupid, right? Just last week, and maybe this guy had some mental health issues in Honduras. He pushed his way through the jet bridge. He went into the cockpit of the plane, and then he tried to jump through the window. Right? So, and then there's this other guy on the plane. You know, he laid in the aisle and tried to look up the dress of a flight attendant. Yes. So as things begin to compress, stress is going to increase. And when there's an increase in stress, we act in unpredictable ways. Depression is going to increase. Anxiety is going to increase. I have become more of an anxious person since COVID. I've become more of an anxious person. How do I know that? I've never washed my hands so much in my entire life. I am freaky around people who said, do not shake my hand. Do not hug me. Do not come close and talk to me. That is not normal. We were not created to behave like that. But, you know, and we don't know how much longer this is going to last. So yes, those things are on the rise, but I'm glad that kids now are raising their hands and saying, I have this, I have that, I need help. I applaud the young lady this morning for her brave testimony when she said, I was on the verge. I was not going to make it. And I'm glad that I talked to someone. And that person talked me off a ledge. And if there's one person here or one person online who can glean something from our presentation and maybe help someone else, then I say mission accomplished. Question.
Would you say that behavioral health is, mental illnesses are just starting to increase, or we're just beginning to identify it?
I think it's a combination of both. I think, there was always mental illness, right? Depression was about what? Always 4 or 5 or 6% of the U.S. population. So Depression is not a new phenomenon. Anxiety is not new. Schizophrenia is not new. ADHD is not new. These things have always existed, but I think we're becoming more aware now, and we become even more aware when, unfortunately, certain issues hit the news, like celebrities who have a break with mental illness, or like that case in Detroit recently, not too far away from where I live, where that 14-year-old kid went to school and just shot and killed those kids, right? So I think it's a combination of both. I think those issues have always been there, but I think now they're getting more awareness. And also, I think because of COVID, there's an increase in them in terms of anxiety, depression, anger. And people are on edge. You got to be careful now how you approach people and how you talk to them. People are very edgy. Franco, he's a psychologist. I think he was in a concentration camp, and he wrote several books on humans and how they behave when under stress. And when stress increases, we behave sometimes in very unpredictable manner. And that's our way of trying to find some type of a normal or a release. Thank you, very good question. Yes. Can you wait for the mic just in case others are? Thank you.
I like to add to what she said about children can now say, I have ADHD. I have a different way of learning. I cannot learn by being told I got to read it or whatever. Now we have a vocabulary. And now the adults that are listening to these children say that, and I say, oh, that sounds like me. Now we're learning, we had it, we didn't know it, that there was a vocabulary. What was wrong with that? No wonder we were so out of step with the rest of the people in school. You know, in behavior. I mean, I was really odd.
So I want to respond to what you just said, and you also. So does everyone, as an example, does everyone here know what is ADHD? Right? Attention deficit, hyperactivity disorder. But do you know like what is it? We know what the name is. Do you know what is it? Like, what is it? What do you think it is? You can't focus, but why? Why can't you? All right, so this is what it is. So when God created us, when we were designed, right? Oh, there you go. So this is the brain. This part of the brain is the executor, is the supervisor of you. This part of the brain tells you how to behave and how to function, right? This is called the prefrontal cortex. So the decisions that you make, like for instance, you're sitting here and you know that you got to work tomorrow morning. And you got to work at 8 o'clock. So you already know that when you leave here, you're going to put your clothes out, you may get your food out, you're going to need gas in the car. There's several things that you have to do. This is your supervisor here kind of guiding and dictating you. When people have ADHD, there is a lack of blood flow to the prefrontal cortex. And remember this morning I said the brain consumes 20 to 30% of the calories that we consume. So if there's a lack of flow to the prefrontal cortex, your supervisor can't function. So what your supervisor is doing is just trying to make this work. And with ADHD, the harder the person tries, it's the worse it becomes for them. They just can't focus. And there are several adults who have ADHD who did not accomplish their goal in life because they had no help. They didn't have a name for it. And so they were labeled as lazy, they were labeled as disruptive, they were labeled as angry, They were labeled as obnoxious, all kinds of label. They were fired from jobs, you're rude, you're overbearing, and so on and so forth. And a lot of adults with ADHD never knew that this was the problem, lack of blood flow to the prefrontal cortex. Right? I actually have a friend who is in that same situation, right? He was struggling to finish his PhD. He just couldn't finish. He just couldn't focus. Just couldn't write. It just was not going to happen. So I said, well, why don't you go and get your brain scan, a SPECT scan, and try to get a diagnosis. And he did. And when he saw his SPECT scan, he was like, oh my God. No wonder. There was no way I was going to complete my program. And he got help, medication management, and other therapies, and within 5 months, completed the program. So once you can name it and treat it, in a lot of cases, it helps, right? And so they prescribe stimulants because what it is, with the stimulant, it stimulates blood flow to the prefrontal cortex so that now you can focus. And these are the compensatory strategies that you can use to focus. So this is why it's good that some of our kids are raising their hand and saying, this is how I feel, this is what's happening to me, I need help. And as I know there's some West Indian parents, I wish my parents knew this, because again, their solution was to beat us for everything. I'm going to beat it out of you. Yes.
So you're saying that that is lack of blood flow and, it can be helped with medication. But what is the actual cause? Is it genetics? Is it some kind of defect? Because it seems like it's happening more now than, well, maybe we didn't have the name like you said before, but it's more identifiable. What is actually the real cause? Because we're wonderfully and fearfully made.
Mm-hmm.
And I know things can happen, but
Yes.
is there a root cause? Because there's people that are they don't do drugs or anything.
Correct. So that is a profound question. That is the question of the century. I can give you maybe 100 million different reasons, but I don't know which one of them applies to that person. I'll take a question in a sec, right? Because, I'm sorry? Uh-huh. Yes. Yes. Well, I'm going there. I'm going right there. Yes. Okay. So what she's saying, she was giving one answer, and she's saying if you go to the presentation this morning, so I'm going to ask my trusty assistant. It's the one that with the, let's just go to the 72 ingredients in the burger. Yeah, keep going. Keep going. So, yeah. So, one more. Okay, great. So just the stuff we eat, because now I want to go several ways with that question. You kind of threw me for a loop there. Remember I said it's hard to find a normal brain. It's very hard to find a normal brain. My brain is not normal. I highly doubt there's anyone in here with a normal brain. I mean, it's possible, but it's hard to find a normal brain. All right? So when you look at the things that we eat, and for instance, you spoke about the food. I mean, look at the ingredients in a Big Mac bun. Just look at the ingredients on the screen. Isn't that crazy? Like, why would you want to put so many ingredients in one sandwich? Like, based on what? Right? And if you go to the next slide, if you go to the next one, that is the big one. That is the big one. So I'm trying to answer your question, right? This guy here is a killer, or what they use this guy to do is horrific. High fructose corn syrup. Okay, so let me say this. I am not a nutritionist, right? My specialty is not food science. That's not my specialty. And I do not qualify to give any information at all on what you should eat and what you should not eat. I will never do that in any presentation. I can tell you what I did for me, right? And what I did for me, I went to a bioenergy doctor. And I said, for my body and for my brain and for my type, what foods should I eat and what foods should I not eat? And she said to me, well, tell me, what do you eat? And I said, well, in the morning, I was proud of myself, right? Sam, like in the morning, I eat oatmeal and raisins, and I put some walnuts in there with some milk, and then I may eat a sandwich, with some cheese and avocado, and I was like tapping myself on my shoulder, right? I'm doing pretty good. And then she's like, no, you're killing yourself. I'm like, seriously? She said, yeah, you're killing yourself. You're actually pre-diabetic. Okay. She said, and furthermore, I'm going to send you to a lab. I'm going to have them run all kinds of tests on you, right? 21 pages, right? And the results came back. And then she sat me down. And she said, okay, now, let us go over your lab. My triglycerides, I think they were like 285. Like, whoa! My A1C was 6.1. That's pre-diabetic, right? Like, whoa. She said, okay, now, what do you want to do? I can put you on medication, or I can change your lifestyle. I'm like, but I'm eating healthy. She's like, that has nothing to do with it. You think you're eating healthy, right? But you got to eat for your body type. Which is why when, as Adventists, we are vegetarian. No. You have to eat for your body type. For me, Colin King, I cannot eat corn. And the reason why I can't eat corn, because this is starch, this breaks down into sugar, and if you're already pre-diabetic, you're driving up your A1C, even though this could be organic. Is it making sense now? So what we eat determines what our brain and what our bodies look like. And so I can't tell you if by eating this corn, if it's good or bad for you. What I can tell you is you need to go and get your body type analyzed. And then you have to eat for your body type. And so for me, I can't eat this. For me, I'm not supposed to eat oatmeal. Yeah, wow, I was right. Because what is oatmeal? It's carb. And what is carb? What does carb break down into? Sugar. And when you start to think about it, you're like, oh, wow. Oh, my gosh. She's correct. I can't even eat rice. Yeah, I know. Rice and peas? Are you kidding me? With coconut milk? Come on. What is better than that, Sam? What is better than that? I am missing, I know. But, however, for my body type, and this is what she walked me through, rice is carb, breaks down into sugar, sugar drives up your A1C. You can't eat it, and so on and so forth. So it is a very individual thing that pertains to the person. But unfortunately, most foods that we eat and most drinks that we drink have high fructose corn syrup. Most of them. Because most of the sugar comes from this, unfortunately, right? This has, fact check me, Google it, 55% fructose, and I think 45% glucose. And this morning, as we said, this well, not this specific one, but Coke, 9.5 teaspoon of sugar. This is what's in here. Right? I mean, Google it if you don't believe me. Right? And so to explain, so the food we may think that we're eating right. And by the way, and this is I smiled to myself when I was researching this, because my dad is a great Adventist. If my dad doesn't make it to heaven, there's no way I can make it. He's a holy guy, right? So when he came to our visit, you could never catch my dad drinking a can of Coke. Oh no. Pepsi, Coca-Cola, I don't think so. I don't think so at all. But guess what he drank? Mountain Dew. That's on the approved Seventh-day Adventist list, right? You know how much caffeine is in Mountain Dew? Actually, Fanta, the Fanta pop soda, they have more sugar than Coke. So yeah, I mean, Google it. So well, maybe in North America it's a little different, but in the Caribbean, you drink one of this, they will read you out of the church. You drinking Coca-Cola, but you can drink a Fanta, which has more sugar than this. So again, the point I'm trying to make is you have to eat for your body type. So a lot of the foods that we eat, a lot of the dyes in the food, a lot of toxins, right? A lot of toxins that we put in our Yes,
We have a question online.
there's
What
a
is the
question online.
difference? What
Are-
is the difference
Are
between?
you guys back up online? Oh, the audio is fine? Okay, ask the question.
What is the difference between an addiction and a dependence?
Okay, so the DSM and in various psychological literature, matter of fact, they've tried to stop using the word addiction now, and a little bit more sophisticated, they call it abuse. So marijuana abuse, and they're trying not even to use the word dependence, right? So they're essentially the same thing. Dependence is I have to use this substance or engage in this activity, and if I don't, it's going to cause me psychological distress, right? It's like caffeine. Some people will tell you, if I don't get my caffeine in the morning, right, I can't function. I just can't function. I become irritable, right? So that's dependence. Addiction is on the same continuum. It means you want the substance, you want the thing, and you have to keep using it, because if you don't, you go crazy. So there's some subtle differences, and so they've tried to discontinue some of those terms. Are we back up online or working on it? Just audio. Questions? Yes.
I was just going to mention, in reference to how you were explaining all the high fructose corn syrup and everything, that's one of the things that's been happening is more and more of this stuff is being put into the everyday foods that we purchase, breads, what have you, muffins, things like that, that people don't read the ingredients. Therefore, with what you're saying, the obesity rates in this country have skyrocketed as well as the diabetic rates. And it used to be heart disease was the #1 killer.
Not anymore.
Not anymore.
Yeah.
So when people just inhale this stuff, and it's like they crave it, along the lines of what you're saying, an addiction, every
Just go to the internet and you Google sugar in your banana. I didn't know that. And I did it. And I was like, you got to be kidding me. Right? Even though it's natural, your body still reads it as sugar, even though it's natural. Right? Because as I mentioned today, males, we're supposed to have 37 grams of sugar a day. That's the max. Right? And females is 25. That's the max. Right? So if you have one of these bad boys, you've already reached your max for the day. You've already reached your max for the day of sugar intake, right? And then if you have a sandwich, you have some rice, you have some corn, you have, for dessert, you have some ice cream, you have some bananas, you've already exceeded your max for the day. And listen, folks, I am not telling you what to do. I'm just giving you information. You don't have to take it. I mean, you can get mad and just never listen to me again. Or you could Google it for yourself and see what is right for your body type and figure it out, especially if you're diabetic or if you're pre-diabetic.
I have a question regarding addictive properties or disorders.
Yes.
So, there are people that have never been around others with addictive behaviors, for example, or disorders like, for example, alcohol.
Right.
And yet they become addicted. Is there a correlation somewhere with the genetic information that passes down?
Right, yes. So good question. And again, remember I said that you don't know what is going to bond to certain receptors in your brain, right? You don't know what's going to bond in certain receptors. For me, I know I can never become alcoholic. And the reason why I said I could never become alcoholic, the one or two times when I order something to a drink, and as I took the first sip or the second sip, I realized there's alcohol in here. What it does, it burns my stomach lining. I hate that feeling. And so for me, that is never going to be an issue, that one. But for someone else, Joan, who may have been predisposed and whose receptors are just waiting, they take that first drink and they're like, whoa, what is this? And that's how it works. We do not get to choose our addiction. For some of us, it's food. For some of us, it's exercise. Right? For some of us, it's porn. For some of us, it's this. For some of us, it's that. There's just different addictions just waiting because you don't know what is going to bond to your receptors. Which is why I ended the session today by talking about grace. Grace and acceptance and understanding. You spoke about the model of AA that you plan to use. You know what is step one? Our lives have become unmanageable. My life has become unmanageable, right? And then there is a greater power. And I turn my life over to the greater power, right? Those are the steps that guide AA. And in fact, those are principles in the Bible, right? Me by myself, I can do bad all by myself. I don't even need a devil anymore. I think I am badder than the devil, if there's such a word as badder, right? And so we have to realize that by ourselves, we are no match for our addictions. So we got to recognize that there is a higher power called God and turn our lives over. Did I see another hand? Yes.
Disabilities.
Yes.
Could that lead to any of those issues too?
100%. And so, so I mentioned this. I mentioned this morning that I've worked with people with disabilities for 20 plus years, specifically traumatic brain injuries, spinal cord injuries. You know, people just like you and myself. You're driving to work, someone cuts you off, your car flips, right? Or you get a blow to the head, or you have surgery. They put you under. And once they put you under, you have no control over what the surgeon does, right? And so there's just different things that have happened to people. And again, this little computer here is very delicate, right? So just a moving, a twitching of that computer, right? And you see certain illnesses like depression, anxiety, substance abuse. In fact, after a traumatic brain injury, it is predicted that 30 to 40% of people will develop a substance abuse problem after a brain injury. So disability plays an absolute role in mental health issues and in mental illness. And a number of my clients, I don't know why you're asking that question, because I can go on and on and on and on. I go to court maybe once or twice a week to run interference for my clients who have committed crimes because of brain injury and mental health issues. Because the supervisor is now gone. Question to the back?
Okay, Mary on YouTube asked, can the struggling with COVID lead to mental health issues?
So, can the struggle with COVID lead to mental health issues? So, what the researchers are seeing now, not in every case, but in a number of the cases, they are long haulers. Those are symptoms of depression and anxiety and anger and frustration as a result of COVID. I think, how would I want to say this? I think it is unfortunate that COVID has become a political issue. And I respect people's opinion. You have a right to your opinion. And I wish we had approached it as a medical emergency and to figure out a way how to deal with this medical emergency. But be that as it may, like for instance, like with the Delta variant, right? That was one of the variants that not only attacked the upper respiratory, but the lungs also, right? Can we at least agree on that? Yes? And so when that happened, it became a respiration, right? A breathing issue. Am I correct? Which is why they had to put some people on ventilators, right? So that the ventilator now can kind of breathe for them. Am I correct? Okay, good. So we're together so far. Because, and go back again, the brain consumes about 20 to 30% of the calories that we consume. What feeds the brain? Blood and oxygen. So if you can't breathe, do you have blood flow and oxygen going to the brain? And what happens when the brain is starved of blood and oxygen? It answers the question for you. Right? It answers the question for you. That's why, for me, personally for me, I don't care what is your conviction about COVID. For me, personally, I don't want to get it. Matter of fact, I was in China and came back in 20 and had it. I was sick for 30 days. Couldn't breathe. One of the worst feelings I've ever experienced. Went to the emergency room 3 times and they said, there's nothing we can do for you. It's just viral. You just have to fight it and just get through it. One of the worst feelings. You're up at night just kind of gasping for air and just coughing, and I'm like, whoa. So right now, I don't care what your political persuasion is. Keep your COVID away from me. I do not want it. That's for me. Any other questions? Yes. Okay, someone wants to add to this question.
For me, having COVID gave me cabin fever like snow. You can't get out. I got sick, depressed, because I could not come out. I was stuck in the house. Everything gets boring, and it caused a depression.
Absolutely, because you can't pursue the activities that you will love to pursue. You're now locked in, and now you got to figure out, how do I deal now with this new normal and this new thing that is attacking me? So I hope I've answered your question. I hope I haven't offended anyone.
No, I don't think you've offended, because I lost my mother to it. And the fact was that when I looked at the pictures, because I'm here, she's over in London, and when they were showing me on the camera how it was like, I saw the slow deterioration. I saw how the brain dying, as it were.
Atrophied, yep. Mm-hmm.
The look of my mother's face, because she had a really beautiful face, just to see it just disappearing in front of me, that was torture. Okay, so I agree with you. To those who selfishly do not care about whether or not, I stay away from them. I'm sorry, I stay right away. And then coming back to what you're doing about addiction and everything else, another thing I want to add to that is, okay, during this time of the pandemic, sometimes we think addiction is just substance abuse, but it could be verbal abuse.
Yes.
It could be, for me, I found that I was playing Sudoku.
Yep.
That was my way of just trying to forget about what happened with my mother.
Correct.
I lived by myself.
Mm-hmm.
So therefore, I had needed something to keep me calm other than church. So Sudoku, that game, I found that, I was just playing it, learning to play it. Then I went into the battle mode, where I'm playing against people in other countries, as it were. And if I don't get my 2 games in a day, something ain't right. So I'm just saying the addiction can come in many forms, and it's subtle. It's very subtle. No, I'm not turning to a bottle. I'm not turning to anything else. But the Sudoku, you know, that's the one thing I found is, you know, till it got to a point, though, where I have prayed about it, and I'll say no more than 2 games. That's it. Anyway.
Because remember I said, right? Remember I said, and I'm going to keep saying this, and this is a significant point. You don't know what the receptors in your brain are going to bond to. You have no idea. I have no idea. I don't know what addiction my great-great-great-grandfather had. I have no idea. But the devil knows. He has their history. He has their old DNA. He's been around for a long time, right? So I can never be too confident, right? I've always got to say, but for the grace of God, there go I. But for the grace of God. Questions? Have we exhausted all of them? So you know, as I said this morning, and Joan, I'm really hoping that this can be kind of a launching pad for something way bigger than all of us. Our church does not do a good job dealing with people who are addicts and people who have mental health issues. We don't have a clue how to deal with those issues. And as I mentioned, what we do growing up, we just disfellowship them. We just disfellowship people who struggle. That's what we do, right? And then, you know, they just go on their merry way. And then, you know, I don't want to, there's so many things I want to get into, but you know, I don't think this is the right place for them. But our church can do a better job in terms of providing resources for our members. Because the church should be a hospital for sinners. The church should be an emergency room. When you come here, you should get healing and help and respiration. And there should not be any shame or blame when someone is struggling. Yes?
Okay. Many of us in the church maybe don't have addiction to, you know, substance abuse, drugs, or alcohol, or cigarettes. Some might do, but I think many don't have it. That's just my opinion. But we all have to eat. You can't live without food or to drink water or whatever. So what is the best approach, or how can we, I mean, many of us struggle with that with a higher degree or a lesser degree in one form or the other. How can we overcome that? Just a simple approach of eating what is good in moderation and completely discarding what is not good. And so that is just, I know you're not nutritionist, I know you mentioned that, but as far as that, you know, like the sugar, the craving, like the fat, the salt, that's, I mean, it's just everywhere. So what is the best simple approach to that?
Yeah, so let me say this. So all of us who are here today and some who are online, we're going to walk away, and I believe 99.9% of us will continue exactly what we've been doing. Exactly what we've been doing with little or no change. And you know why? Because change is so darn difficult. These tracks have already been laid. They've been cemented. And it's hard now to uproot these tracks and go in a different direction. If you're over 40 or 50, and I'm standing here asking you to change your life, are you kidding me? You're going to come up with all kinds of excuses, right? All kinds. Let's take, for instance, exercise. Let's just go there. Let's take, for instance, exercise. You know how hard it is to exercise? It's hard to exercise. It's very, very, I rather have high blood pressure, diabetes, be obese, and enjoy my food and make up all kinds of excuses. And some of the excuses of, I make up is, I don't want this food to waste. Right? I don't want this food to waste. And so because I don't, wastefulness is not godliness, so therefore I can't throw this food out. I don't want this food to waste. We make up just one more piece, and then, and this is the craziest one I've heard. I mean, maybe it works for some people. I'm going to get my 10,000 steps in today. Right? So if I'm going to get my 10,000 steps in today, I can still indulge, and I'll get my 10,000 steps in. So I don't even talk to people about changing. I just don't, because I know how difficult it is, right? I can only share my personal experience for me, right? When I met with my bioenergy doctor, and she outlined that I need to be in a paleo diet until I die. So she said, you have to be in a paleo diet forever. And I said, forever? She's like, yes, forever. And then I went into a major depressive episode. Because my brother, I love to eat. While I'm eating one meal, I'm already planning what am I going to eat for the next meal. I love to eat. So I'm the worst guy to give anyone advice on eating. I am not that guy. But I had to make a decision, right? I had to make a decision that if I want to enjoy quality of life, because once you hit 50, 55, 60, you start to accelerate, you start a race to the bottom, right? You start a race to the bottom, but you can do that, right? You can stop it, you can arrest it if you make a conscious decision. So here's the conscious decision I made. I made a conscious decision that every single morning, including the Sabbath, when I get up, have my devotion, and right after that, I'm in the gym. Whether I like it or not, whether I feel like or not. I mean, I do miss some days, right? I do miss for whatever reason. But 5 times a week, 6 times a week, sometimes 7 times a week, this is my life. I have to create now new tracks in my brain. And that's a hard thing to do, right? Because you can say, oh, not today, tomorrow. Oh, it's too cold. Oh, it's too hot. Oh, my exercise clothes is in the laundry. They're not clean. So therefore, I can't exercise. Your brain will lie to you. Your brain will tell you lies. And so what I did, I just stopped listening to my lies, and I just lay my exercise clothes out. As a matter of fact, even before I have my devotion, I put on my exercise clothes. So I psyched my brain out. So I put on my exercise clothes. And then I just go through the motion. And when I'm done, I was like, wow, right? So that's one of the things I did. And then the next thing I did is I had to divorce myself from my relationship with sugar. Hardest one. Hardest one. Headaches, depression, anxiety, whatever. You know how hard it is to do that? And even now, I still cheat a little every now and then, like Donald made a sweet potato pie. I'm like, help me, Jesus. You just had to make this stuff when I was coming, brother. And so, I kind of take a little slither, and then I went back, and I got a little slither, and then I'm like, that's it. And then, because I can't drink juice, I psych myself out. I fill up my glass with a whole set of ice, and just pour a little juice inside, and this is my little holiday, right? So yeah, it's separating yourself from that addiction. It's one of the hardest things to do, but I had to do that for me because I didn't like the way I was going, and I don't want to be on medication for diabetes. I don't want to lose my toes. I don't want, if I'm going to die, just shoot me. But I really do not want to live a debilitated life for me. So that's what I had to do for me. Yes, my brother.
My question, I kind of agree because I had to quit cold turkey a lot of things that I used to eat.
Yeah.
My stroke, the doctor said, you got to quit eating meat, you got to quit eating chicken, you got to quit all that good stuff. But anyway, you mentioned something about diet for you.
Yes.
Because even the green stuff that I thought was good, for some people's diet, you just said. So where can we go to get that specific for you?
Excellent question. Excellent question. And I'm a hypochondriac, right? So I go to my primary care physician at least twice a year, right? I go to my dentist 4 times a year. It's just for me. I'm not saying that you should do it. I just do that for me. Here's the point I'm making. I've been going to my primary care physician at least once or twice a year. And she's a great physician, but she never had a discussion with me about my A1C. Never had a discussion with me about my triglyceride, right? Never. She will take my blood sugar, and at the time when you take the blood sugar, maybe it's 98, maybe it's 102, maybe it's 85, you're fine. That's the physical, right? It's fine. But the A1C is a measurement, is an average of over the last 3 months or so. So to answer your question, what I said to my primary care, and I don't care if she was offended because it's not her life, it's my life, right? I said, I need you to refer me to a bioenergy doctor. I said, I want you to refer me to a bioenergy doctor. Mine is not covered under my insurance. Good question. It's not, well, that specific bioenergy doctor, that one, is not covered. So then I have to make another decision. What is the worth of my life, right? If our fee is $250 an hour, or $350, or $175, or whatever it is, right? Is my life worth more than that, right? Whatever car you drive, I promise you, the car that you drive right now is worth at least $1,000. Is that a fair statement? And if you can drive something that you're going to dump that is worth $1,000, why can't you spend that on yourself? So I went to a bioenergy doctor, and they did a total analysis of my blood type, A1C, triglyceride, LDL, all that. She just walked me through PSA, blah, 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 all of that stuff, a book. And she's like, this is your life. Here are your levels. Here's what the lab tests are showing. And here's what you can do. However, it's your call. What do you want to do? What do you want to do? And that's why I don't, there's a lot of, okay, let me take that back. Let me not say that. There are some fanatics in our church. There's some fanatics. And my dad is one of them. And the reason why I'm saying that is one summer he came by us. And he said, we were having lunch. And we asked him to do the prayer. I don't know whose idea was that. That was not my idea. And he prayed, but he did not bless the meat. Yes, he didn't bless the meat because he's been a vegan. He's been a vegan for 40 years, 45 years. But guess what? He has coronary disease, right? I know what he eats every single day. He eats bread every single day. He's killing himself. He is killing himself, but he's a vegan. And so when I said, for me, you have to go with your physician and find out what it is that you need to eat for your blood type. Because your physician may say, because I said to my physician, I want to be a vegetarian. She's like, why? She's like, for your body type, you cannot afford to be a vegetarian. You have to eat lean meats, green vegetables, get off all the carbs and the starch and all of that stuff, and that's the diet for you. Because everybody's body is different. Isn't that a fair point? So why in the world would you come and tell me, because you're a vegan or whatever, that I should become a vegan? And then I'm eating pizza and ice cream and think that, well, I am doing okay? I don't think so. And by the way, here's another thing. Now that you've gotten me going, all right? For your people with dark skin, okay, always check your vitamin D level, right? Why should you check your vitamin D level? Because vitamin D is implicated with respiratory diseases. And go to the Loma Linda website, there's a physician, he's done a lot of research. And he's looked at a lot of COVID-related illnesses and COVID deaths. And an alarming number of black and brown people, when they took their vitamin D levels, the levels were very low. And when your level is low, you are at higher risk for a respiratory issue. But that's not what I wanted to say. I wanted to talk about fish oil. Fish oil, next to exercise, your daily dose of fish oil is about one of the best things that you can do for yourself, right? Now you will say, why fish oil? Because the brain tissue is made from the same substance like fish oil, omega-3 fatty acid. That's what the brain looks like, right? And so, in several research papers, they have seen that when you increase your intake of fish oil, you are more likely to promote brain health. In fact, I read 2 articles. I'll be very quick, and then we can start to wind up. The first one was a high school student. He was involved in a very bad auto accident, and he was paralyzed and unconscious in a hospital for several months. And the doctors did everything, and they told his mom, there's nothing else we can do for your son. And then, God bless mothers, she said, I read somewhere or I heard some way that fish oil can help to repair brain tissue. And the doctor said, well, you have nothing to lose. We can try it. And they pumped him with an inordinate amount of fish oil. And within a couple of months, he became conscious and was able to attend his high school graduation. In another paper, a coal miner who was trapped underground suffered from anoxic injury and again was unconscious. Matter of fact, the mother read about that story. And that guy's physician did the same thing with fish oil. And they noted his amazing recovery. And then now, a lot of primary care physicians are now prescribing fish oil because fish oil has a tendency of repairing brain tissues. But you think I can tell my dad that he should take fish oil? Are you kidding me? He's a vegan. You can't take fish oil. Any more questions? Yes.
So, I have been diabetic for 16 years.
16?
16.
Type 1 or type 2?
Type 2.
Type 2.
Since I was pregnant with my son.
Ah, gestational.
It didn't go away.
Yep.
And it was so bad to a point, my A1C was like 14.
Mercy.
14 point something.
Yeah.
And I know that go along with stress and what I was eating.
Yes.
So I eventually have to move from metformin to insulin.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm like, I can't spend the rest of my life like this. I bought a book from Amazon. It said, prayer can reach heaven 100%. What's the name of that? That's the name of that book? Yes. So I bought that book, and I've been reading that book. And I fast.
Mm-hmm.
And when I take that insulin, trust me, I can take it like 7 in the evening. I could wake up in like 12 o'clock, I'm crashed.
Yep.
My blood sugar is so low, I check it, it can be 30.
Wow.
And by that time, you can eat out the whole fridge because you just need it to go up because the way you're feeling.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, no, this is not right. So I start reading that book, and I believe in it.
Mm-hmm.
And I ask God to help me. And nobody don't do this because this is God. God, this is not supposed to be. I quit taking my insulin.
Mm-hmm.
And I cut all the sugar. The only fruit, I don't even eat watermelon, pineapple. The only fruits is the berries family. Strawberry, raspberry, blueberry.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only fruit. No banana, nothing. No rice. I could eat bread and go to my bed, nothing else. I cut that out. No bread, no rice. I'm Jamaican. I need my rice and peas, as you said. But I cut it out. I go to my doctor. She checked my A1C. Last time I went was in December. My A1C went down to 6%.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm on no medication,
Mm-hmm.
no sugar, no nothing. She said, well, I'm not going to give it to you. Just do what you're doing. But what did you do?
Mm-hmm.
I said, trust in God. I read a book and it tells me to fast and pray. Because back in the Bible, all these prophets, for everything they fast and they pray. So
Well,
that's what
well,
I do.
well. Let me talk to you. This is just for you, right? So you started off with trust in God, and there's something about your belief system that worked for you. Remember the woman with the issue of blood, right? She said, "If I can only touch the hem of his garment." There are a lot of people around pushing and tugging, right? But for her, the one for Christians. Now, you're going to get me preaching now. Do not get me preaching now, okay? For Christians, for Seventh-day Adventists, the one ingredient that you absolutely need is faith, right? If your faith can be as strong as a grain of mustard seed, you can move mountains. That is indisputable. Now, your faith then propelled you to do certain other things. So this is where the work came in, right? This is where the works came in. So it's not just faith. It's not just saying, oh, I prayed and God healed me and God healed me. Now you had to behave like if you were saved, right? So you cut out, you said banana?
I don't even eat banana.
Oh boy. So
I ate a half of the green one because we're Jamaican. We
I
boil it.
understand Jamaicans have to eat their green bananas. I will not ever try to take that away from you.
It's of
But-
less than the right
But
one.
the point I'm making is that you made a decision. You made a decision that you're going to change the way you eat and the way you live.
Yes, sir.
And you are seeing the fruit of your labor, right? And that works for you. So I hope that for you and for you and for you, you just find out what it is that is going to work for you and start with faith and belief in God and let that take you through. Let that take you through. Yes, there is one other question, then we want to wrap up, right? Because I don't want to wear out the patience of the saints.
Okay. A few years back, when I was first diagnosed as pre-diabetic, the doctor told me, well, try to lose some weight. I was only at that time 116.
And the doctor wanted you to lose
And he
some
wanted
weight.
me to lose
And
weight.
you were 116 soaking wet, but he wanted you to
Right.
lose some weight.
So I said, okay. So I went strictly to vegetables. I ate salads and fruits. I had to go back and see him in 3 months. And I lost 30 pounds in 3 months. Wow. So when I went back, they rechecked my A1C, and it only went down 1
Yep.
point.
Yep.
1 point.
Yep.
That discouraged me.
Yep.
I got out of there. I told my husband, let's hit the buffet.
You might as well, right? You might as well, right? So yeah. And you know, and I don't blame you, right? Because if you're doing all of that work, right, and your A1C just move 1 point, you might as well go to celebrate, right? I don't blame you. However, the thing you have to realize is that if you didn't make that adjustment, or if you stop making it, then you can regress to where you were, and then it can be worse. Because as we age, our bodies, if our bodies are not moving, they become less efficient, right? And so here's my challenge. What's your name? Deanna. Yes. So here's my challenge to you, right? Because that condition is not going to go away. Here's my challenge to you, just for you. I want you to start a daily routine of exercise. Deanna, I am telling you every day. I'm telling you every day, because you eat every day, right? You sleep every day. You brush your teeth every day. So stop making up excuses, right? Yeah. So make that commitment to yourself, right? So that you can have your organs, you can have your pancreas trying to jumpstart, trying to work as it should. It may just drop 1 percentage point, but there are other side benefits that you get from that even simple change, right? Your head is clearer, you feel better, your mood is better. So there are other benefits beside just the A1C. Good start, but keep going. I think, yes.
And the next thing too, your protein and eat less. Like if you can eat once a day or twice a day, that helps your body to heal itself. And if you fast, your body will heal itself too.
Thank you, thank you. So again, I'm not here to give anyone advice. You know, I can talk about me, what works for me. Closing thought. I wanna thank you for being here. I wanna thank you for all of the thought-provoking questions that you asked, and you decide what it is that you want to take away from here for you. If you just came here today and you just sat and you just said, wow, that was a boring presentation, or if you said, that was a great presentation, and you walk away and you did nothing, it would have been a waste of time. It's just information. It's been a waste of time. But if you make a commitment to change one thing, I don't know what that one thing is. Maybe Deanna is like, okay, I'm going to exercise every day. I'm going to get up in the morning, I'm going to put on my exercise clothes, and I'm going to exercise every single day. Or I am going to watch my sugar intake. I may not be able to stop cold turkey, but I'm going to make some decided changes in my life. It will improve your quality of life. Right? And I hope that God will continue to bless you in your ministry and as you positively influence others. Dawn, you had a comment? You know I was closing up, right, Dawn? Go ahead.
I'm going to say one thing to help you out.
Go ahead, Dawn.
I take care of a lot of patients who have addiction, like alcohol withdrawal, and for the first 3 days after they haven't had any, they have a lot of withdrawal symptoms. It's not easy. So a lot of these habits that we have as addiction and wants to get rid of them, and when we stop doing what we were doing, it's not an easy thing. We go through DTs. We go through delirium. We go through anxiety. We go through everything. But on the other side, there is a reward. But I know a lot of times we don't want to stop because we are afraid of what we may go through. And maybe we start going through that, and then we revert back to the old way.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I want to say.
Thank you. And can I just add to what you're saying? And this may be information for some of you. You mentioned about people withdrawing from alcohol. As a part of my work, probably a few years ago, I used to fly very rich people to treatment centers across the country, right? And one of the things I learned in that in a lot of those cases, while they were being transported to the treatment center, we had to give them alcohol while they were being transported. And you know why, right? Because if we didn't have alcohol to give to them, they will seizure out and die, right? So yes, that's how bad that is. And as soon as they get there, they have to prescribe medication, maybe like phenobarbital or Vivitrol or something to kind of help with that anxiety and the withdrawal symptoms. Because if they don't get medical intervention within a timely manner, their body will go into shock and they can actually seizure out and die. Oh, someone else want to add to that? You see where this is going? I'm trying to wind up, folks.
Alcoholics Anonymous, you're gonna find a lot of sweet bread, candy, where you're gonna be told to drink juice, orange juice, because we're not just addicted to the alcohol, we're addicted to the sugar in the alcohol, and we're craving.
Absolutely.
Meaning
Absolutely.
there's candy, jars of candy, because we're gonna be eating candy.
Exactly.
That's what we want a lot of times. It's not the alcohol, it's the sugar. So
And you're absolutely right. Again, folks, thank you so much. And God bless you. Thank you.
All right, Saints, were you blessed? Did you learn something? I was taking some notes back there. I really regret missing this morning. Doc, by chance, do you actually have like a website, or if people want to follow you, learn from you, you got any materials?
Yeah,
like
I actually have a YouTube channel, and I will certainly encourage folk to go to that. You know, there's resources on there in terms of addiction, mental health issues, and so on and so forth.
Okay. So yes, search for him on YouTube so you can continue.
Colin King
learning.
Presentations.
Colin King presentation. I've actually subscribed
Yes.
to the thing on there. Alrighty, we're going to dismiss with prayer. We do want to present you with something here. We do appreciate you taking time out of your schedule and coming to be with us. The recordings, for those of you who may want to, watch the replay and go over that, they are on our Facebook page as well as on our YouTube page. So we want to pray for Dr. King. This is a wonderful work. Many of us need liberation in different areas of our lives. And so I pray that we will continue in 2022 to become the best versions of ourselves that God has imagined for each and every one of us. So let us stand as we pray. I'm going to pray for Dr. King. Dr. King's day is on Monday as well, so you have a good name there. But I want you to also pray for him. And pray that the Lord will continue to expand opportunities to help others to find deliverance as well. And pray for someone also that you know right now. If it's yourself, pray for you. But pray for someone also that is going through a difficult moment, struggling with something, that they will be able, by the grace of God, to find the strength and the help to make it through and to overcome. We want to be victorious this year with everything that is going on in our world. Father, in the name of Jesus, we thank you for sending Dr. Colin King to be with us on today, to share with us how we can indeed find victory in the areas of mental health and addictions. We pray, that God, that you will bless him with good health, bless him with opportunities to continue helping and serving others in this particular area. We pray that you will help the Greater Randolph Church as we are seeking to have this ministry, that it will be fruitful and that it will indeed be beneficial. I pray right now in the name of Jesus Christ that those of us in this room or online who may be dealing with addiction or mental health struggle, disease, or anything, God, let us not give up. Give us the strength to keep on pressing on, to keep on believing and having the hope that it is possible to indeed find victory. Give us the strength as well, because you have given us resources and knowledge so that we can also find help professionally or otherwise. The point is, God, we do not want to suffer anymore unnecessarily, because many people are suffering when there's actually help. So help us to reach out with our hand of faith as well as with our hand of action to grab a hold of everything that is available so that we can live good lives for ourselves, but as well as for our families, and also to be effective servants to humanity. To this end, we thank you in Jesus' name. Amen and amen. May the good Lord bless each and every one of you. Doc, on behalf of the church, we want to thank you for coming and being a blessing to us today. Take care, everybody. Have a wonderful week.
Thank you.